Scar's played by Jeremy Irons. Irons like a clothing iron. An iron that flattens things. Scar flattens Mufasa. Oh my god! The Lion King is one of the most memorable, heartwarming, ugly, cry-inducing movies to ever grace the silver screen. But like many other classics, it's also laced in double meanings. Or so fans would have you believe. Welcome back to The Binger, guys, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at some of the most messed up Lion King theories that just have to be true. So, be prepared to have your fluffy childhood memories torn to shreds. Or, as it roughly translates in Zulu, Ake sibabhais izine izin kumbulu. Sheesh, try saying that 3 times fast. So let's just jump straight into the wacky and wonderful, shall we? We probably take the whole animals talking to each other thing in kids' movies for granted, right? But once you start looking a little closer at the feasibility of it, things start to get a little bit Planet of the Apesy. In other words, what if the lions in The Lion King are actually super evolved lions that took over the world due to their superior intelligence? Just like the apes in Planet of the Apes, and the other animals are subservient followers. That could mean that the world we see in the movie is actually some sort of post-apocalyptic world, at least where human existence is concerned anyway. Maybe the lions, thanks to some serum that makes them smarter than us, decide that they don't want to be kept in cages anymore. It would certainly explain why a pride of lions in the middle of nowhere is fluent in English, understands human-derived pop culture, and can comprehend the sanctity of marriage. I mean, Zazu jokes that Scar would make an excellent throw rug. How would he even know what a throw rug was unless he had seen one made by us humans? Or maybe Zazu is actually a time-traveling Rowan Atkinson trapped in a bird's body. Hashtag bonus subtheory. How can Mufasa be the bad guy, we hear you cry? I mean, sure, the vocal presence of Darth Vader housed within a lion could be seen as pretty menacing.
Simba, I'm very disappointed in you.
But we're going deeper than that. Like, if you take a step back and look at what Mufasa laid down as his justification for the way he ruled, it was pretty thin. Take the ever-popular circle of life, right? Mufasa says it's okay to maim and eat other animals because eventually lions will pass away and be consumed by the earth and become grass for other animals to eat. What? So it's okay to do whatever you want and subdue the weak because things have a way of balancing themselves out? That's a little shaky, isn't it? Sounds like Mufasa found a way to justify a lavish lifestyle and intends to do whatever it takes to stick to it. Scar, on the other hand, is keen to engage with hyenas, the lower class in this instance, and bring them food. Makes you wonder. Speaking of Mufasa and Scar, one theory that makes total sense, at least from an in the wild hierarchy point of view, is that the two lions aren't actually related. Yeah, sure, Scar refers to Mufasa as his big brother, but this could merely be a metaphor for a dominant ruling leader. What makes much more sense is that Scar has basically just turned up on the scene looking to overthrow an aging dominant male. In the wild, a pride will usually have one adult male that acts as the leader. Eventually, this adult male will grow old and a younger, stronger male will mosey on in and take him down, thus becoming the new leader. Rinse and repeat. So, Scar is most likely a roaming lion that has spotted an opportunity to be king and decided to seize said opportunity. And a big part of that is taking down the current ruler, Mufasa, and any possible challengers like his son, Simba. So, less the dastardly bad guy and merely an animal following a path of natural selection. Plus, how could they be brothers? They look nothing like each other, and the family genes are clearly very, very strong. Simba looks exactly like Mufasa when he grows up. So, running with the whole one adult male per pride idea, if you do the math, it's pretty clear that Simba and Nala are related to one another. They could be brother and sister, and at the very least, they be cousins. In lion terms, this is pretty normal, but for us watching at home, it's a bit,
You're so weird.
especially when you consider that Simba and Nala have a child in the sequel movie. And one could even argue that their child, Kiara, does struggle somewhat with the basic instinctual traits of a lion. Certain survival instincts, like hunting, for example. Could that be the result of compromised genetics? Right, let's just go ahead and leave this one here, shall we? Throughout the movie, Zazu is a big source of comic relief. It's understandable, he's voiced by Rowan Atkinson. But even though he is by Mufasa's side while he reigns, one theory suggests that he might have a sinister agenda. Even though he seems largely liked in The Lion King, Zazu is bossed and beaten around a hell of a lot. Whether he's being laughed at because of his genuine concern for others or literally being beaten up, he's not treated with much respect at all. So what if, after being treated poorly by Mufasa and Simba, he decided to side with Scar? Don't get us wrong, Scar mistreats him too, but maybe Zazu's agenda was to stop Simba becoming king by any means necessary so that his mistreatment was not allowed to continue to another generation. He does make it pretty clear several times in the movie that Simba being king scares the life out of him. But how do we know Zazu is a traitor? Well, remember how Scar coerces Simba into going to the elephant graveyard in order to get rid of him? On the way there, Simba and Nala manage to sneak away from Zazu, but he ends up finding them anyway. How could Zazu possibly know where they were unless Scar told him his plan? And he followed them there to make sure everything went ahead as agreed. There's a few other details too, like how the greedy, starving hyenas never eat Zazu, even when given ample opportunity to do so. Probably because they know Zazu is under Scar's command, working as a double agent. And why does Scar keep Zazu around when he becomes king? Maybe because he doesn't want any of his dark secrets getting out. Zazu likely saw what happened to Mufasa as he was nearby and even got flung into a wall to shut him up. So keeping him sweet? That's important. You could argue that Zazu did try and help Mufasa when he was in peril, and yeah, that's true. But that's likely because Mufasa wasn't the thing that worried him. It was Simba and his inability to rule. So, this theory further adds to the whole idea of Mufasa being the bad guy, unfortunately. In the movie, the Pride Land is hit by a dreaded drought, which we're led to believe is due to an imbalance because Scar is king. Okay, well, if we're going to point fingers, why not explore the fact that the drought also happened when Mufasa went away, and maybe he took the reign with him? Sure, people love to hate on Scar, but what if Mufasa gained the ability to control the weather when he passed away? And to prove a point, he starved his land of water to emphasize how great he was and how rubbish Scar was. But what evidence do we have of his H2O mastery, you say? Well, Mufasa does appear as a cloud talking to Simba in the night sky. That's pretty masterful, right? It could be that Mufasa was purposely stopping it from raining so that Simba would return to save the people. Or, as another theory suggests, maybe he was guiding Nala so that she would hunt further afield, find Simba once again, and bring him back home. But regardless of his reasoning, he's still deprived his people of water. And that's a pretty sucky thing to do. Speaking of the whole weather sequence, and in Mufasa's defense, another theory suggests that the swirling cloud mirage didn't actually happen at all. It was all in Simba's head. Why? Well, if it really was Mufasa appearing to Simba, why wouldn't he warn him about Scar? The only reason he wouldn't warn him is if he wasn't actually Mufasa, but instead he was a figment of Simba's imagination. And if Simba doesn't know it, then imaginary Mufasa can't possibly know it either. Yep, you read that title correctly. There's a lot of ruling, overthrowing, treachery, upper class and lower class in The Lion King, which has led many people to theorize about the root of its story and its underlying meaning. The most obvious one is the story of Shakespeare's Hamlet. In a nutshell, Hamlet follows a prince whose uncle slays the king. Said prince then leaves, grief-stricken, but eventually returns to settle the score. Sound familiar? Or maybe exactly the same? And when it comes to specific characters, Simba is clearly Hamlet, Scar is Claudius, and Zazu is Paulinus, which supports the whole Scar and Zazu plotting together theory. But delving deeper than that, many believe that The Lion King actually has roots in the story of the Soviet Union. In basic terms, Mufasa represents the Tsar, whose reign is mostly seen as a happy one, until the rise of an underclass, the hyenas in this case, led by a new leader, Scar, who'd be a combination of Lenin and Stalin, take him down. But ultimately, this leader's ways result in the people being unhappy, and then another leader comes onto the scene and reintroduces the old ways of life. Enter Simba. Well, that's how you suck the fun out of a family film in about 30 seconds, innit? But Timon is so cute, cuddly, he's funny and charismatic, right? And that's all the more reason that this could be true. History tells us that cult leaders are the type of people who seek out the vulnerable, some of which may be grieving and introduce them to new ways of easy, carefree living. Now, of course, the agenda here is total control and brainwashing. So, take this line of thinking and apply it to Timon and his Hakuna Matata philosophy, and boom, you've got yourself a cult leader. Not convinced? Well, think of it this way. Timon pretty much bosses Pumbaa around. He likely recruited the physically stronger warthog years ago, and when they bump into Simba, a helpless, recently bereaved lion, Timon's first instinct is to leave him. But after realizing that he can make use of his dominant lion abilities, well, then he takes him under his wing. He then teaches him his worry-free way of living in the total isolation of a jungle away from any possible outside influence. I mean, when Nala turns up reminding Simba that he is king and should return, Timon instantly puts Simba down and says that he couldn't possibly be king, until he realizes the kind of power that could come with such a title. I mean, come on, how much more evidence do you want? So, which Lion King theory had you second guessing your love for the movie? Were there any big ones that we missed? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below. And be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Binger YouTube channel for more awesome videos like this one. See you next time.